Does it make me a bad person? Every time I hear the sort of sentences being handed out to these mindless thugs, my heart soars. It probably does, but we knew that already. We saw some tasty ones earlier in the week, didn't we? 3 years. It's getting pretty good as well. 2 idiot friends who got drunk at bingo and then decided to start throwing rocks at police. After which, by the way, one of them got bitten in the backside. Hopefully the Alsatian's teeth were particularly sharp. They both go down for 26 months, Ryan Shears and Stephen Malin. William Morgan, 69, went down for 69. 69. I was even older than me. By that time, surely you've started to calm down. I understand a man previous, unblemished character. 32 months. And it's fascinating as you look through those who have been charged, I stress charged, not all convicted, I hope we heard that. The age range, 11 to 69. But here's another really, and well done, the arrests now I think are at 483. We're talking about 149 charges. We're talking about sentences handed down to north of 20. We might be nudging 30. Credit to everyone involved, to the police, to the judges, the recorders, whatever it is who are doing it, magistrates. This is what, and also we'll debate the wisdom, or otherwise, of putting some of it on TV. I think it's great, but as one of my colleagues pointed out accurately, it could set a bit of a precedent. Because in the past we've only televised horrific cases such as Lucy Letby, the nurse, took a number of lives. And I'm not defending what these blokes have done for a second, and they are almost university blokes. But it's an interesting precedent to set. That's later in the show. Let's start. So we've talked a little bit about the ages, and these are, again, charged, I stress, 11 through 69. What about the geography? Now, this is fascinating. Because, you know, the most nicks, the most arrests have been from places a long way away. I remind you, the point that made this all blow up was the tragic killing of 3 girls in a dance class in Southport. Well, when you look at where people are being taken from, they've gone mad in Middlesbrough, which is 149 miles away, and nuts in Nottingham, which is 129 miles away. So they were obviously just looking for a fight, weren't they? We'll explore that with experts in just a moment. Yesterday morning, the Prime Minister visited a mosque in Solihull in the West Midlands. While he was there, he praised the swift response from the Crown Prosecution Service and the courts to bring offenders to justice. He said that explained why Wednesday night, remember that was meant to be, but fortunately the counter-protest countered it completely, why the violence failed to materialise.
We're able to demonstrate the criminal justice system working speedily. So yesterday you saw the sentencing of individuals who've been involved in disorder days ago, some of them getting sentences as long as 3 years. That sent a very powerful message. But I also think that the work that's been done jointly to reassure our communities is becoming more effective.
Now, later yesterday morning, more of the speedy sentencing that the Prime Minister referred to took place around the country. We go to Liverpool Crown Court Judge Andrew Menery, handing down several sentences, including one I referenced earlier, 32 months for violent disorder to the 69-year-old grandfather, William Morgan, the oldest person to date to be sentenced.
Liverpool is a dynamic city, full of wonderful people who have worked hard, and your actions have disgraced the reputations of that town and this city. In your case, William Nelson Morgan, for the offence of violent disorder, the sentence is also 32 months imprisonment. That sentence intended to reflect that offence and the associated offence of possessing an offensive weapon. Those are the sentences of this court. You may now both go with the officers.
2 others sentenced in Liverpool who've received considerable media coverage were brothers, Adam and Ellis Wharton, 28 and 22 respectively, who were both sent to jail for a combined 31 months for their involvement in the riots, which saw a library and a food bank burnt down in the city last weekend. After sentencing, the boy's mother, Trudy Wharton, spoke with LBC.
I think the judge was very fair, and Ellis has never been in trouble before, ever. He's a good boy, and hasn't been in trouble for 4 years. I'm really shocked, and I'm very sorry for what they've done. And if I can do anything to help in the community, I will do it. I'll do my utmost. It's not the answer, and you don't want to lose your life. It's precious. And when you go in there, you don't know who your neighbour's going to be, and it's dangerous. So be good and listen to your mum or your dad or an elder.
OK, the age of the suspects, and indeed those convicted, with criminal psychologist Dr David Holmes in a moment. But let's look at geography first. Bring into the conversation Sue Sim, who served as Chief Constable of Northumbria Police. Thank you for coming on. Sunderland was on your patch, Sue, if I may call you that. And we've looked at people who've been arrested and in some instances convicted. And we mentioned Middlesbrough, we mentioned... There was a big trouble in Sunderland as well. What's the problem in that area, in your view? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. I think the problem that you have is, firstly, there was a trigger point for this particular batch of unrest with the tragic deaths of BB, Alice and Elsie in Southport. You had the misinformation that has been passed online. And the very unfortunate thing is that in areas, and particularly in Sunderland, in 2019, there were BNP, British National Party candidates right across all the council seats. The vast majority of people in Sunderland are law-abiding people who want a diverse community. There is a minority there, as indeed there is in all the places that you've mentioned, who want to cause trouble. You have these, if I can call them, idiots online who are promoting violence, who are promoting misinformation, and who are trying to cause trouble. And then I think what your next expert will say is that, you have, when these so-called protests happen, you have a whole range of people there. You then get mass hysteria, which is caused by the troublemakers, by the people who are intent on causing violent disorder. And in effect, it lights a spark and you end up with a mass violent disorder that has been seen across the country. In Sunderland, unfortunately, I believe that's what happened.
Sue, yours is an area, when you're Chief Constable, I have visited, but not for some years. Again, Sunderland and the surrounding areas. How much is it an area of social deprivation, housing issues and unemployment?
There is mass social deprivation in Sunderland. There are some of the poorest wards by any social measures. And unfortunately, in these areas where people do have what they would consider to be legitimate grievances, when people are provoking, and that's exactly what it is, they are provoking these protests, and they are doing them in the name of, social grievances that people have. You then get people turning up and instigators, people who are deliberately trying to cause a riot, and that's what these people are trying to do.
All right, I will leave it there, Sue Sim. I'm grateful for your time. I'll let you go. Thank you. You served as Chief Constable of Northumbria Police. Now, let's talk a little bit about the ages and bring in Dr David Holmes, who's a criminal psychologist and wrote Abnormal Clinical and Forensic Psychology. Doctor, noting that those who have been charged, we must tread carefully there, range from 11, but convicted we go up to 69. What would make a man approaching his three score years and 10 decide to indulge in this criminal activity? Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Well, there's quite a few. The thing is, you've also got to sort of back off a little bit and think, who's the easiest people to actually identify, catch, trace, etc. And perhaps an elderly chap is going to be an easier target. He's not exactly an experienced criminal, perhaps. No. He's probably not been to that many, and I think this is the elephant in the room, that many kind of training grounds for rioting, i.e. football matches every Saturday.
Right.
Basically, you have a situation across the country, and it does kind of semi-reflect the kind of areas, the towns concerned, where you have a kind of tribalism is actually relished, and you have people who turn up every Saturday. Not all of them, obviously, but there is a significant minority who turn up basically for violence, fighting, what have you, and they enjoy the idea of being tribal, which is, in essence, one of the problems that you get with kind of these racist conflicts. They're looking for a scapegoat. Migration is an obvious scapegoat. And you have the kind of all the kind of factors, the individual factors.
Yes.
They are often sort of people that have, low sort of threshold for suggestibility, so they pick up on all the misinformation, and it fits with their kind of plot, if you like, for life. The idea that somebody else is to blame for all their poverty, etc.
Doctor, these are in some cases eye-watering terms: 3 years, 26 months, 32 months. Obviously, the government and the judiciary hope that these sort of sentencing, and possibly televising them as well, will calm the situation. What do you think the impact will be now and possibly in the future?
Well, I think this is possibly one of the major parts in the government's arsenal, is to actually process these people phenomenally fast. I mean, a lot
Incredible.
of these people would have probably have taken months to come to court even. So to manage to do it in a matter of days and actually get to sentencing and broadcast sentences that were pretty much, quite heavy sentences, given the actual individuals concerned, and the idea that no one is going to get away with it, no one is going to go without a prison sentence, which, given the crimes, yes, but this kind of activity by the police and the judiciary and the Crown prosecution is unheard of almost.
It is. And that's why many are celebrating. Dr David Holmes, thank you. You're a criminal psychologist. You wrote Abnormal Clinical and Forensic Psychology. Just look at some of these sentences. This is fantastic. Daniel Maguire, who was 45, was convicted of spitting at riot officers in Plymouth. Guess what he got? 26 months. 20. Now, I hate to say, I think until these riots, you'd have been lucky to get 26 weeks for that offence. I celebrate that. Guy Sullivan, 43, nicked £300 worth of booze during the riots. What do you suppose he got? 16 months. Now, normally we don't do shop theft, do we? We just, unless it is to. He got 16 months for nicking £300 of booze. Isn't life great?